Welcome back. Hello, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to From the Shed, and I hope you're all doing well on this Thursday morning. Now, before we get into today's video, just want to say a big thank you to everyone that has recently subscribed to the channel and also the old subscribers as well. But everyone that's subscribing to the channel, we appreciate it. We've surpassed 500 subscribers, which is a very small milestone for us as a channel, but we are still growing. We are still wanting to increase the subscribers and the views as well. So make sure you like the video, you share your thoughts in the comments, and you make sure you subscribe before you do anything else, before you leave this channel. Now, I want to talk about Chelsea, the upcoming protests again. This is a follow-up video to the last video that I did. I want to talk about TalkSPORT. Unfortunately, I hate them. They're linked to the Sun newspaper. They're the worst, dirtiest, raggiest, corrupt, disgusting, every disgusting, horrible word you can think of. Add it to TalkSPORT and that stupid newspaper that I'm not willing to ever mention on this channel ever again. But TalkSPORT, Simon Jordan, Jim White decided to get themselves a Chelsea fan. Now, I know this Chelsea fan has caused a lot of uproar, unrest, whatever you want to call it, over the last 24 hours over Twitter, and being the person that seems to be the voice of Chelsea Football Club in terms of the fan base, going on to TalkSPORT for 11 minutes and talking about Chelsea and why we're protesting. Now, I actually felt sorry for the Chelsea fan. I know there's a lot of Chelsea fans that will potentially either follow him, know him personally as well. So I did feel sorry for him, because I feel like with anything, TalkSPORT especially, you know, they're willing to, they want someone to go on there who probably isn't as clued up as some of the other Chelsea fans, that isn't as responsive, who isn't going to give you the responses that a particular Chelsea fan might be able to give you. Now, they went in there with preparation. You know, they knew what they were going to say to this Chelsea fan who called in, and the Chelsea fan almost, you know, first minute he was doing okay. You know, he's speaking about the protest and why we're protesting and what it means to the club. But then with anything, especially in journalism, when someone's trained in this, they're used to having these arguments day in, day out. They're going to trip you up, and they're going to make you look stupid. And that's exactly what they've done to this Chelsea fan. They made him look stupid in front of the nation, in front of thousands, maybe millions of people right now. So obviously, to give a bit of context, so Simon Jordan, Jim White are talking to the Chelsea fan. They're asking him why we're protesting. Now, the Chelsea fan goes on to say that we're not happy with the owners. We're not happy with the fact that they've come in and they basically turned the club into a business, and they're trying to make as much profit out of it, which is very true. That is all very true. That's what they're doing. That's what they've done. They are trying to churn out as much money out of the club. We know that already. The problem that I had was Simon Jordan, especially Simon. I hate him. He's a prick, isn't he? He's a proper prick. Now, he knows how to have these debates. He does. He does it all the time. He's done it with Chris Eubank. He's done it with Eddie Hearn. He's done it with Martin Keown in recent times as well. So he knows how to have these debates. Jim White is the one that loves to stir the shit. He doesn't say too much, but he knows how to trigger and press buttons. He does that all the time on TalkSPORT. If you're new to that channel, or you don't know about TalkSPORT, that's what they do. They bring on callers, they bring on guests, they trigger them, they poke them slightly, they try and get them to react, and then that happens. You look stupid on national radio. But so they go on to talk about the ownership. Jim White says to the caller, was you happy when we signed Moises Caicedo? Was you happy when you signed Pedro Neto? Was you happy when you got Cole Palmer? And unfortunately, the Chelsea fan that called in at that point should have said, this is not just about the transfers. This is not just about the free transfers that he named. This is about the other transfers, the other ones that have come through that we haven't seen any profit from, the ones that we haven't been able to get into the first team, the ones that have just been brought here to make profit. Caicedo was not brought here to just make profit. Neither was Cole Palmer or Pedro Neto. We know that. Now, at that point, I would have brought up the fact that we signed João Felix, but we've now got rid of him. We only signed him because of Conor Gallagher. I would talk about the fact that we forced Trevor Chalobah out of the club because of pure profit. That's the point where you want to bring up those things. Now, this Chelsea fan, unfortunately, did not. And I know it's all well and good me saying that. I'm sat here, but I've done professional interviews before. I've done them for the the BBC and other big corporations. So I know how to talk and maneuver in those sort of situations. But at that point, you have to go prepared. You have to go prepared. You can't just call up TalkSPORT or whoever and not really have a clear understanding or direction or anticipation of what you might be asked. Because when you go on there and they catch you out, you're going to be a deer in headlights. And unfortunately, you go down that road, they trip you once, you're falling over constantly after that. You know, that would have been the point where you bring up the pure profit, the players that have been sold on. Now, he could have flipped that as well and said, actually, some of it has worked for us because we sold Mason Mount for pure profit. That helped us, PSR, all of that stuff. You can talk about the things that we've done for the players like Koulibaly and Kante that went to Saudi, and we inflated their prices and we were able to get money. So you could have flipped it and actually turned that into a bit of a positive and said, yes, we're protesting. We're not saying that they've done everything bad at the club, but actually the bad outweighs the good. That's how I would have gone in it, because we're not saying that these owners, probably not the best owners. There's worse owners out there, 100%. But the way that they're running the club in some aspects is not good enough for this Chelsea Football Club. And it's also not just on the owners. This is another point that was never made in that TalkSPORT video that went out yesterday, was this isn't just about the owners. This is also about the sporting directors. Owen Stanley, Lawrence Stewart, this is about you guys, because you've employed Graham Potter. You told the owners to go and get him. Then you went and got Pochettino. And now you've gone for Maresca. You've brought in all these key players that haven't worked out. We've just got João Felix on a loan. We've now moved him on to AC Milan. We've brought in Jadon Sancho. We brought in Raheem Sterling. I can go through the list again. I would have had that list to hand. The list that I went through 2 or 3 weeks ago, I would have had that list right in front of me, and I would have reeled that off to Simon Jordan. When he's talking about Caicedo, Pedro Neto and Cole Palmer, I would have reeled off the list that included Caleb Wiley and said, was that a good deal? Was that a good deal? I would have gone back and checked all the times that Simon Jordan and Jim White have spoken about Chelsea Football Club in a negative way and spoke about these owners. Because that's what they do on there. If you go back and listen to their videos, that's exactly what they do when they talk about it. Jason Cundy, another one. Everyone talks negatively about these owners. So for him to turn around and flip it on the Chelsea fan should have been prepared and said, actually, on this day, you spoke about the owners and you said that this and you could go through and list it. Now, that's what you should be doing in that debate. You have to come prepared. Now, the bit that got me was when they started speaking about Roman Abramovich. They spoke about Roman Abramovich and how his dirty money, the money that the UK government was happy to take, let's be honest, he helped the economy. Let's not forget that. His money, the UK government were happy to take. They were happy to allow taxes to be paid on all the money that he was spending in the UK. And it wasn't a problem then. It wasn't a problem then at all. At all. They allowed him to come here, buy property. Now, if you're not savvy on stuff like that, when you buy anything in this country, you're paying tax. If you earn over a certain threshold in this country, you're paying tax. So they were allowing all of that stuff to happen. He wasn't bad then. He wasn't bad then at all. He wasn't bad during COVID. If you remember, when they needed space, they ran out of hospital space, apparently. He wasn't bad then, was he? Because he was allowing people to use Stamford Bridge and under the bridge and all these other places that he owned. So he wasn't bad then. You only have to go down Canary Wharf. Roman Abramovich is not the only one. Go down Canary Wharf and see who owns all those buildings down there. So morally, we're talking about one person, but there's a bunch of other people doing exactly the same thing right now, not just in London, across England. And no one's got a problem with that. And I'm going to ask again the same question I keep asking about Roman Abramovich. Where's his money? Where's his money? Where's his money that should have been sent to help those of aid in need within this conflict, in this war that is happening? Where's that money? It's all sat in the bank in England, gaining money for England. So we can all talk about Roman Abramovich and how, you know, he did this, he did that, he did this, he did that. Let's look at the MPs in this country. Let's look at the royal family in this country. And let's talk about what they've done as well. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And at that point in that interview, I would have either said, like, let's stop, let's talk about what we're talking about here, because the protest is not about Roman Abramovich. So to bring him up in the conversation, we're talking about a protest, and credit to the Chelsea fan, because he did try and do that. He did say that's a totally different conversation, but you got to nip that in the bud, and you got to be able to bring it back to the protest. Now, the protests, I wrote down a list of things why he could have gone on, the Chelsea fan could have gone on to say why we're protesting. And I'm going to rule them off. The first one is poor squad recruitment. With 1.6 billion into a 3-year project. And I'm going to say it again, and I keep saying it on here. Cucurella, Moises Caicedo, and Cole Palmer, out of 38 players, are the only 3 players that you could say are nailed on starters in that team. Poor recruitment with 1.6 billion and growing into recruitment. That is on the sporting directors. That's one of the reasons why we're protesting, because this whole project and way of working and the wage bill and having it so low isn't working for this football club. And we're missing out on certain targets like Osimhen because of that, because it doesn't fit into the current structure of the wage bill, which is understandable. You want to reduce it down, but you also have to make sure that you know by doing so, you're not going to have the particular leaders, the necessary leaders in the squad that you need. That's just common sense. That's just common sense. Another reason, the management instability. These owners already, and I'm going to refer this back to Roman Abramovich, who did this very successfully. When you got rid of one of our good managers, Roman replaced them with another good manager. These owners aren't doing that. They're looking at everyone else's model and thinking, Brighton's looks good. Oh, Leicester have just been promoted. We'll have him. Oh, Pochettino, he's technically classed as a top 4 manager. So they're looking at all these things. They're not actually looking at what's successful for us as a club, what's going to benefit us and make us potentially better. They're looking at everyone else's model and they're stealing bits from that one, stealing bits from that one, stealing bits from that one and trying to piece it all together, and it's never going to work. So the model has to change. That's another thing I would have said on that TalkSPORT interview, had they interviewed someone who has a bit more clued up and understanding of why we're potentially protesting. Think for another reason, which I wrote down, a lack of communication to the fans and a lack of transparency. And those things are key. As a Chelsea fan, they're very, very key. They're very, very crucial. The reasons being, I went back a couple of weeks ago. I told you guys about Vivid Seats and how Todd Bowley is a member of the directors, is a board of director on Vivid Seats, which is a company which sells inflated price on tickets for things like Chelsea Football Club. That is a conflict of interest. Now, that was 2 weeks ago, and we still don't have anything, no statement, no nothing from Todd Bowley to say, I'm withdrawing, I want to resign from the board of directors, I'm working this out with them, I'm trying to resolve this as quickly. Nothing. There's a lack of communication between the higher-ups and the fans. And when you have that disconnect, it shows that the owners don't really have the fans' mind, their interest best at heart at the football club. So there's a bit there already. There's a lack of communication to the fans. And all the things they churn out now is either the PR stuff, the things that, certain journalists are told to say, or here's a new kit for you guys. Here's a shiny new training top. Here's a new kit. Go and buy that. Here's a new package, new hospitality package. Go and get that. That's all we're getting from these guys. We're not getting anything else. We're not getting anything else from these guys. They came in, they said they were going to redevelop Stamford Bridge. Another one I've got on my list. They said they were going to redevelop Stamford Bridge. Now, we've seen already there's other clubs. Liverpool have expanded. City are expanding. Everton have just got Bramley-Moore Docks. Tottenham have got the best stadium probably in Europe, if not the world right now. So all of these things are happening before us, and they keep promising us that they're going to keep doing these things and they're going to keep happening and all the rest of it. And it doesn't happen. So that's the problem that we have at this football club. The sporting directors have a lot to answer for. Todd Bowley, Egbali, they're the ones who appointed these guys in. There's a case to say that had we gone for one sporting director, one voice around the table, things may have been different at the football club, but we didn't. We should have really, in my eyes, gone for Christopher Vivell, who we wanted, we got, we appointed, and he walked away before the project even got off the ground. And that tells you, that's telling already. So, and I think the last thing for me is the fact that they have not addressed what they needed to address in this team. And that is, going back to point number one, the recruitment has to be better. Now, to get there, you have to bring in a sporting director that is capable and willing to adapt and understand what the club actually needs for now. My worry is, and I've said it on here before, is that I feel like the owners, and they've come out and said this yesterday again in The Athletic, the owners are happy with our sporting directors because, as I said last week, they're doing what they are told to do. Go and get the youth. Go and get someone who's 16, 17 or 18. Bring him into the club. If he's good, we'll start him or loan him out to Strasbourg or somewhere else. If he's not good, we'll sell him on for profit anyway. So these owners and these sporting directors are doing what they, in their eyes, is right for themselves, but also for the club. But as a fan, if you're watching Chelsea week in, week out, and you're seeing that, you know, Maresca's coming out and saying that we don't have a Mo Salah in the team, we don't have someone that is willing to continue to work for this team, even when we're 2-1 down or we're 1-0 down. We have no Mo Salah in the team, and Maresca's coming out and he's saying this publicly. That tells you that things aren't right in the team. There's no leaders, as we've said before. There's no real common goal scorer. There's no one that's going to get the 20 goals a season. We're relying on Cole Palmer. It isn't good enough for the current squad. And the owners have to address that. And that, to me, is what the protests are about. Now, if I was on TalkSPORT, those are the things I would have picked up on straight away. I would have been able to counteract that Roman's nonsense about Roman. Roman's been one of the most refreshing things probably happened at Chelsea Football Club in years. In absolute years. And I put him up there with Jose Mourinho, with Frank Lampard, with Didier Drogba. All of those things. I can even go back further to before Roman was there. You had Gianfranco, you had Vialli, Di Matteo, Marcel Desailly. You had all those people at the club and they were all a breath of fresh air. But when Roman came in, it was different because he lifted everything, not just the players, he lifted everything. Everything. Roman Abramovich helped build around Stamford Bridge. I'm not talking about the ground itself. I'm talking about the village that surrounds Stamford Bridge. Roman Abramovich is the reason Under the Bridge was such a successful venue right underneath Stamford Bridge. So if we're gonna talk about Roman Abramovich in that way, let's go and flip the tables from all of those MPs that are sitting at Parliament right now, see what's happening underneath the desks under there. Let's go and have a look at what is happening at number 10 right now with Keir Starmer, who, if we're being honest, has got a more important role, not just in this country, but in world politics right now. Let's go and have a look at what he's doing. Let's go and look at all these MPs stealing the money from all of the working class people. You know, Simon Jordan can sit on TalkSPORT and talk about how Roman was this really bad character and all the rest of it. But let's look closer to home. That's all I'm saying. I want to hear your thoughts on this. I want to hear your thoughts. Was the Chelsea fan, was he harshly done by? Was he set up to fail, so to speak, in the interview that he put out yesterday? I do personally feel sorry for him. I think it's always difficult if you don't know what you're walking into and then you're just sort of ambushed in that way, but you have to be prepared. If you know you're going on TalkSPORT or any big major BBC, Sky News, whatever it is, you have to be prepared and do your homework and understand that these guys are only having you on their platform because they want to see you fall. And that's the honest truth. But I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear what you think down below. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. As I said, the subscribers are creeping up. We are now on the road to 600 subscribers, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you can try and get us there as soon as possible. Hit that subscribe button, the like button. The Linktree link is in the description. We'll be back tomorrow with our Aston Villa preview. Big game coming up on Saturday. So we're going to have our predicted lineups. Myself and Theo will be here for the podcast. So make sure you tune in for that. Get the notification bells on. And until then, enjoy the rest of the day and we'll be back tomorrow.